Steve not only practiced mindfulness, but you taught mindfulness for 10 years. And yet you still suffered from extreme anxiety, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the point, my experience, is that I engaged in mindfulness as a really life-changing event. You know, when I first started doing mindfulness, and this was probably heading on 20 years ago now,
wow.
that I got started doing mindfulness back in a time when mindfulness was still not as culturally acceptable. Now it's like everything. We see it everywhere. It's in the boardrooms. People are practicing it all over the business world.
Which is a great thing. That's a good start.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, to say that mindfulness didn't work is a bit off.
Here's what I mean by mindfulness didn't work. I want to make sure that I explain this, because otherwise, you know, it looks like the title was like clickbait or something, but it's not. I genuinely mean mindfulness didn't work because you still had extreme anxiety. If mindfulness had worked, you wouldn't have suffered from that debilitating, because there were some mornings when you woke up and you couldn't do anything despite the mindfulness. That was one thing. And then the second thing is that it didn't help you get different results in your business. And this is really important, that it didn't change how you did business. It didn't change the results you got in your business. You still lost your business despite the mindfulness. And I think that's why I'm saying it didn't work for the results that you wanted.
Right. So I think it, you know, clarifying those points, you know, mindfulness was a great entree for me into doing this work. And it was absolutely, at the time, very effective coping strategy. It was something that I didn't have as a kid, and it was something that I was able to utilize that was putting a Band-Aid, perhaps, on things. And I also don't want to negate results that other people might be getting from mindfulness. The point here is that because of the unconscious references, because of what it was that I was holding on to, the things that were there in my subconscious mind were the triggers for that anxiety. The mindfulness wasn't addressing that. It wasn't changing that. So it wasn't until I started doing the work to change those references that I could actually see different results. Now, my experience with mindfulness was that I was able to maybe bring down some of the stress in the moment. But again, when my life ran up against some life events, some life circumstances that threw me into, you know, kind of that dark time. And that was around 2016, when I really felt like, despite everything that I was trying to do with mindfulness, I was waking up a lot of mornings with panic attacks and feeling like I was just in that debilitating place of anxiety and not being able to turn that around. It's just that when I was able to start addressing and changing the unconscious references that were there for the anxiety in my childhood and started to make those kind of shifts and changes, it's not that I abandoned the mindfulness techniques,
Absolutely.
you know, because I still utilized the mindfulness techniques to be able to help moderate what I was feeling. But now that I was making those shifts, it was making an automatic change internally. I wasn't waking up with those panic attacks. I wasn't experiencing the level of anxiety as much as I was beginning to do this work.
Right. So Steve and I met in February 2017. And I know that during that period, the beginning of 2017, when we were together up to the middle of it, I know that you would wake up in the morning in that state. And it was amazing how I couldn't pull you out of it. You couldn't pull yourself out of it, obviously, but even I couldn't pull you out of it. It would take a period of time of talking you through, and often physical exercise, in order for you to bring those stress chemicals down and getting out of that emergency state. So what we're talking about is not just like a little bit of concern or worry or like a light anxiety. It's that kind of anxiety. Just right? I mean, you were like...
Not everybody is experiencing that
Absolutely.
level of anxiety. It could be the type of debilitating anxiety where you are just having these thoughts that are popping up throughout the day that are having an impact on you moving forward in what you're doing. Whatever that business is, whatever you're trying to move forward in, if you're feeling some level of anxiety that's causing a procrastination, it's causing doubt, it's causing whatever blocks or resistance there, it's not allowing you to move forward in your life.
Absolutely. And what's happening in the background, I want to say as well, if you are using mindfulness and it works for you, fantastic. That's great. Continue to do that. The reason we're doing this video is for people who have been using mindfulness and it's not working for them. They're not feeling better. They're not able to break those patterns. They're not able to get the results they want from it. So maybe helping a little bit, but like it was for you, but it's not getting the results. And the reason is what's going on in the background is that as you are using mindfulness, so you're focusing on the practice, in the background, the unconscious part of your brain is referring to implicit childhood memories or unconscious childhood memories that prove who you are and how the world works, your unconscious self-image and worldview. And then that part of your brain is pumping stress chemicals into your system in response to those memories. You can do mindfulness all day, but if your brain contains proof you're in danger or you're not worthy, you're not good enough, or whatever happens to be in your childhood that you are consciously unaware of, it's still going to continue to pump stress chemicals into your system regardless of what mindfulness or any other techniques you use. And it's like trying to convince someone to sit down and have a cup of tea while they can see that the house is on fire. It's like, no, calm, have a cup of tea, but they're looking at the flames. And so the unconscious part of your brain thinks that you're in danger and it's pumping stress chemicals into your system as a result or as a response. It's the stress chemicals that are causing that state, not your conscious intention. And for other people who either don't have those references or the stress chemicals aren't as high yet, then they can do the mindfulness and it'll work because that'll bring the stress chemicals down, produce feel-good chemicals. But the challenge here is that stress chemicals like adrenaline and cortisol that cause those negative emotions are stronger than feel-good chemicals because they're for survival. So when you've got a high level of those stress chemicals in your system, it's much more difficult to feel the feel-good chemicals because the stress chemicals are stronger. So there's that piece. And then the other piece is patterns. So in business, for example, it's as your brain is referring to your childhood that proves it's dangerous to be successful, or if I have money, my father won't like me, I'm not good enough, whatever references are there, it's affecting your judgment and your decisions and what seems like a good idea and what doesn't seem like a good idea, and whether you're willing to take action and what action you take. All of that is affected by your childhood memory. So mindfulness doesn't help with that piece.
It can certainly help to mask, or you can kind of push through some of those kind of things. But in order to make a more permanent change, it really is essential to go back and to be able to change those references. And that's the empowering bit about this, is that we can 100% change those references, even though we've experienced or carried those around for most of our lives, those feelings, those beliefs, those patterns. We don't have to stay stuck. We don't have to be married to those old feelings. That's the challenge, or the empowering part, to be able to do that. And once you're able to do that, once you're able to make those changes, then those triggers that were there, that were producing the anxiety to begin with,
they're not there anymore.
They're not there. That is one of those really kind of weird experiences initially. It's like to know that you've been anxious most of your life and then to realize that that isn't there anymore. And it takes a little bit of practice to just get used to living into a new state. And I guess that's what we're about. That's our mission. That's what we're doing. All of the work that we're doing is to try to be able to empower others to be able to do that.
And what I wanted to add there is what mindfulness can be helpful with is helping to bring those stress chemicals down in the moment so that you can do the rest of the work, finding those memories and changing them. So it can help with that. And what I wanted to add is that now when you use mindfulness, it's effective. You can do it because you've changed those memories. So there's no longer that extreme survival state going on.
You know, I still rely upon or still utilize mindfulness as a daily tool, something that I work in with doing work with individual clients and that kind of thing. So definitely a powerful coping technique and a skill to
But not
use.
enough.
Right.
I really want to make that point. It's not enough. I think that's so important to end on. And the reason I really want to make that point and end on that point is because this video is not for people who find mindfulness effective.
Absolutely.
This video is for people who've tried it and couldn't get the results they wanted. This is to encourage you that it's because there's something in the background that needs changing first. We have a free masterclass that goes through all of the details of what those references are and how to change them, how we changed ours so that we now get different results. And we also have a live webinar coming up on July 9th. So if you see this video before then, the link is in the description for that as well if you'd prefer to attend that. All right, see you next time. Lots of love.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.